Welcome back in live to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Today we are continuing with our bold breakdowns as we look at the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl between the Oklahoma State Cowboys and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This game, it's a little funky. Kyle Hamilton opts out for Notre Dame. Kyron Williams opts out for Notre Dame. Brian Kelly has
Opts out for Notre Dame.
Brian Kelly opts out from Notre Dame. But Marcus Freeman comes in. He's named the head coach. You see the reaction of the players. These players are pumped up to be coached by Marcus. He's a player's coach. Coach Freeman is. I think he's a great man for the job. He might have some growing pains as a coach, but I think the players are going to want to play for him. I think he's a great guy to take over the job. Oklahoma State Cowboys come in being a yard away from arguably being in the college football playoff.
Vicious loss.
If they could have won the Big 12 championship and beat Baylor,
they're in.
I think they're in. That being said, they took a tough loss. Cincinnati's in. So Dill has some ideas on where the motivations might lie for this team. And Dill, how do you want to get into this game?
Yeah, and kind of what I think. If they only named Marcus Freeman the interim, I'm pretty sure Notre Dame wouldn't even really play this bowl game. Like, nobody would care. At least on the so they did save themselves a true letdown. Obviously, losing your top two guys is like an inherent. So it does show that this game does kind of. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, Notre Dame, but like they do feel it seems like the air was taken out of the bubble, and this was a year Notre Dame should be in the playoffs. Yeah. When there's no Clemson and there's no Oklahoma, so you got two monster down years from some big dog programs.
Yeah.
That's when Notre Dame has to be there, So it's like it hurts seeing Cincinnati in the playoffs and these two teams kind of looking on the outside. Having said that, Oklahoma State, winning a Fiesta Bowl for them is like as good of a result as they've had in forever. So no doubt they're going to come ready. I think you see it. Nobody's opting out really for Oklahoma State. They're going to be.
I think once, in my opinion, on where's the team's motivation? I think once the guys put on the helmet and pads. Granted, never played high-level football in my life, but once you put on the helmet, once you put on the pads, you're going to go play ball.
But Georgia, I don't know. You see it with the SEC all the time and some of these big programs when they have to go play someone beneath them.
One of the two.
Yeah, that could be the SEC bias.
Because Florida's giving up a lot of their best players are just not there. But the guys who are going to be playing and who are going to take the field, they're still they want to be there.
Well, that's what I think. I think Notre Dame, because they kept Freeman and because the team kind of rallied around.
This is
Brian Kelly piecing out on them.
Yeah,
it does seem like Notre Dame. You're not. I don't think you're going to get such a bad letdown as maybe you could, based on how the season ended and how kind of everything went when you lose your coach and he just dips on you. It's it's all kind of weird, it is weird. It is a weird way to end your season.
He did that to Cincy too, I guess.
But that makes sense. That's Cincy. Notre Dame's Notre Dame. Who leaves Notre Dame?
They're not used to having coaches
get fired.
Yeah. Let's get into a breakdown of the actual when the guys put on the helmets, put on the pads, and take the field. What's this game?
Yeah.
How's this game going to play out? What's this game going to look like? The biggest thing when I watch these two games on film, when I look at the stats, it's Oklahoma State's going to get after Jack Coan all day. Notre Dame has struggled to protect the quarterback. They've been banged up. They've been young on the offensive line. They've been good as of late, but they've also haven't played very stellar defenses. UNC, Navy, U of A, Georgia Tech, Stanford, all horrible.
That's a weak list of D.
Horrible defenses. Oklahoma State, they're number one in sacks in the whole country.
And I'll say, when you look at how Oklahoma State's done it, they're doing it by committee. They don't have an Aiden Hutchinson kind of guy who's got 14 sacks or whatever. They're doing it by committee, and the only thing that maybe makes you think a little bit is no Jim Knowles. So how much is his ability kind of to have feel for when to call certain blitzes and so forth?
I think he's
help put those players in a position to generate that amount of production. Because again, nobody's doing it dominating themselves.
Yeah.
They have some good players, but.
And everything I've read is just a ton of credit to Jim Knowles. Yeah, you kind of said it. You don't have you're not having a Will Anderson out there who's just physically just better. I mean, I could
Yeah.
have that kid have a ton of sacks calling the plays. I don't know squat. Jim Mills is dialing up. He plays an extremely aggressive brand. He likes to. When you watch that Oklahoma game, they were playing like cover zero a lot. You're just putting the cornerbacks on islands. We're just going to bring 7. We're going to bring one more than they can block, and we're going to just get after the quarterback, force him off the spot. I don't know if we'll see that aggressive of a defense, but Notre Dame has historically really struggled. You saw in the Florida State game, Jermaine Johnson was in Jack Coan's ass all night.
Yep.
I think a lot of these edge rushers for Oklahoma State are going to be like that too. Not to mention they have one of my favorite linebackers in the whole country, Malcolm Rodriguez. He has like over 120 tackles on a year. I think 50
he's awesome.
For loss. He is awesome. I loved him 2 years ago when I was quarantine tape watching. This dude can ball out. I'm very excited to watch him play. I think another story is like Notre Dame also no slouch on defense. They're very, very good on defense, have a ton of guys who are 4th, 5th year guys, very experienced and tough. Is Oklahoma State going to be able to move the ball? Spencer Saunders has been extremely inconsistent.
He's coming on though, in fairness. He's turning it up a little bit. He's not like playing. He's not great, but I get the sense watching he did play better.
He's using his legs more, which is good because he's not a very good thrower, but he's a very good athlete. I was very impressed with what he did against Oklahoma. I think he ran for like 70-ish yards, 93 yards. That's what he needs to do. He's not a very consistent thrower. He's good in intermediate passes. He can be accurate, but he's not going to be someone who's going to throw for 350 yards and win a football game for you. He's just not.
And they also don't have the talent on the edge, frankly.
No, they have one guy.
It's not a particularly great group of skill players.
It's Martin or bust. Like that's
and obviously TJ Warren's sick, and he's really been a force for them. And
he's going to be healthy too. I would think he was, which was super unfortunate, was not healthy enough to go. Desmond Jackson was just extremely inefficient. They couldn't run the ball.
Yeah, that's brutal sell-on.
So I mean, he goes by Tay Martin, was like the only ounce of offense on that team, plus a few screens to Desmond Jackson. But Spencer Saunders, if he can just, Oklahoma State wins a lot of these games if you don't have this stat. 4 interceptions is just a joke, and it's you can't do that against a Notre Dame team. They're too solid. They're too solid of a team to turn the ball over 4 times. I'm surprised it was that close when they played Baylor. I mean, Baylor's offense was horrible in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, so like you've seen moments where they can put some points up with Sanders, and then you've obviously seen the opposite. I think not having Jalen Warren's brutal. Like that really makes it hard on that offense. But
I think you'll be back for
no, I know. I'm just saying when they go play a Baylor, it's tough to not have him. He is the mainstay.
Yeah. So let's.
But I don't know. I think you're looking at a Notre Dame team that's wildly overrated because they've played no good teams.
Yeah, they haven't.
Besides Cincinnati.
We're gonna get a lot of hate for it, and I've interacted with Notre Dame fans, and they'll try to argue some of these teams are good. We just saw UNC, who don't think any opt-outs, get absolutely obliterated by South Carolina.
Sean Beamer,
kind of a middle to bottom tier team in the SEC. I think the Notre Dame team it's hard to tell if they're coming on late. They lose to Cincinnati, and then they barely beat a Virginia Tech team, and then they start kind of putting it together. But these teams are like Virginia with no Armstrong. Stanford's been horrible. Georgia Tech's been horrible. It's like how much credit are we going to give this team for blowing out horrible football teams? When they play good teams, it hasn't looked great. Even this Wisconsin game was very close until a fourth quarter kick return for a touchdown.
Yeah, that score doesn't nearly reflect that game. I agree.
And so there's another thing that I want to talk about. And I mean, Kyron Williams obviously opts out. That's who they've leaned on. Kevin Austin Jr. has been their guy at wide receiver, him and Michael Meyer. That's who Jack Coan's going to have to lean on. I've been calling for it for a while. They need to let Michael Meyer cook, man. He's like a little baby Gronk. I love him.
He's better than Gronk.
I thought it'd be closer to 1,000. I think he's had a down year. I think this Notre Dame offense in general has had a down year. And that's a result of just not being able to lean on a super good and veteran offensive line like they normally have.
Yeah. I mean, in getting to kind of predictions, I mean, everything in my fiber is telling me Oklahoma State, just because I do think they have had a lot of good. They've had a fairly tough schedule, honestly. Like the Big 12 was like not great this year, but you play Baylor twice, you play Oklahoma, like Texas. Like they did have some decent teams and had a lot of good wins this year with Gundy, and the Jim Knowles is like, I don't know. That's the one thing
That's a
that's giving
question
me
mark.
cause. Like, can they kind of choke teams out like they've been doing? And they've been choking teams out left and right with like a suffocating defense. And it's like, it's not wildly talented though, which makes me question like, how bad is Jim Knowles going to hurt? And it's the only thing making me think like kind of doubt the pick for moneyline Oklahoma State.
So here's my breakdown, and we'll wrap it up here. There's two big storylines in this game. Notre Dame protecting Jack Coan, who they've struggled to do it all year, and they're facing the best team in the country and one of the best teams in the country getting pressure on the quarterback. 2, can Spencer Saunders take care of the ball? No, Kyle Hamilton's going to be big, that kind of ball hawking, rangy safety, who's also very good. He's just a phenomenal player. Can Spencer Saunders not throw the ball into the other team's hands 5 times?
Yeah.
If Spencer Saunders can take care of the ball, if they can establish a little bit of run, I don't expect them to run the ball that well, but if they can get their ground game going between Spencer Saunders and Warren just a little bit, I like Oklahoma State. That being said, can Notre Dame force turnovers and give Jack Coan a little bit of time to get it to these playmakers? Because if he has time, like Michael Mayer will win on one-on-one coverage if he has time to win. Those are the storylines of the game. I'm not comfortable giving a lean. If I were to lean, it'd be the under because I don't think there's going to be a lot of points in this game.
That's actually not bad.
At 45 or watch
45 is low, but
42 spread. Both these defenses, their strengths are with their defense. They gave up less than 20 points a game. Both their defenses match up very well with the other team's weaknesses. I think it's going to be a defensive dominated game. The worry I have with the under is Spencer Saunders throwing pick sixes. Jack Coan getting strip sack fumbled. Like those are the worries I have with but those are good worries to have when you're taking the under. And so that's my lean. It's a tough pick. A lot of question marks too. Dill mentioned Jim Knowles not being there. And so that's kind of a review I have on this game. As usual, appreciate you guys watching, listening to what we do. And we'll be back later with more bowl previews. And we're getting back to draft season, baby. Let's go. Appreciate you guys. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.